Are you trying to buy a home in Lancaster PA but keep getting beaten out by cash offers? In this video, I'm going to be breaking down how you can compete whilst using financing. I'm going to cover the most frequent questions I get asked when trying to compete with a cash offer and how you too can do it without putting yourself at any unnecessary risk. Why do cash buyers have such an advantage in Lancaster? Cash buyers, whether in Lancaster or anywhere else, reduce uncertainty when it comes to selling a home. There's no lender, there's no appraisal, there's going to be fewer reasons for a deal to fall apart. In Lancaster, where we have low inventory, certainty is just as important as the price you offer. How close can a finance offer really get to cash? Well, surprisingly close is actually the answer. Sometimes just because it's cash, it doesn't always mean that it is king. Someone who's taken the time to get fully pre-approved with a local lender is going to be almost as good as cash, especially if you combine this by writing a strong offer. This means minimal contingencies. For example, if you're asking for 25 different inspections, it's less likely to get accepted. But if you're doing standard home inspection, you're doing a good, strong earnest money deposit, you've got a pretty good chance of getting your offer accepted. Which contingencies can you loosen without overexposing yourself? Now, you do not need to waive absolutely every single contingency that you have. You'll be glad to know that you can actually get a home inspection these days. However, some of our smarter buyers in Lancaster often do the following. You can shorten your inspection timeline. Somewhere between 5 to 10 days is going to be a quick turnaround, so getting those inspections done promptly. Setting a single item repair limit. So for example, you may say we want a home inspection, but we're not going to ask for any single item or repair that doesn't exceed $2,500. This signals to the seller that you're not going to nickel and dime them. You're just focusing on big items like the roof, HVAC, and any structural issues. What is an appraisal gap, and does it actually help? If you're able and willing to do an appraisal gap, this can make your offer almost as good as cash. An appraisal gap simply means that you will cover the difference should a home appraise lower than the purchase price. So for example, if you had a home that you were offering $410,000 on, and the appraisal came back at 400, you may offer to fill the gap between the 400,000 and the 410. So basically bringing an additional $10,000 towards closing. You may also offer a partial appraisal gap. So you're not saying you're going to cover the entire difference, but you may say we will cover an appraisal gap up to $5,000. This helps the seller net more money should the appraisal fall short. How do flexible terms sometimes beat a higher price? Price isn't always king, and every single home is going to have a different situation. In Lancaster, sellers often prioritize a flexible settlement date. For example, if they are contingent on the sale of their home to purchase their next one, they may want something like a rent back, or they may need a couple of months to get everything ready in order to move out. Some people may also need a very quick move out. So if someone's maybe a distressed seller, they may have to sell very, very quickly. And this is where a cash offer may come in and trump you. Fewer contingencies you have, just because someone's offering cash, they may still elect to have a home inspection, radon inspection, termite inspection. I can't believe it's not butter inspection. So by having fewer, cleaner inspections, you may be able to nudge out a cash offer with your financed one. Ultimately, having your agent reach out towards the listing agent and have a conversation with them to say, hey, what's going to make the most sense for the seller in terms of their timeline? What are their concerns when it comes to a buyer? If you can address most of these concerns, it's likely you're going to get an offer accepted. Should buyers ever waive inspections in Lancaster? This is where I urge caution. So if you're someone who has decent reserves, you really love a home and you want to be in a particular area, then yeah, absolutely. Especially if you're buying something like a fixer-upper property, you can waive inspections. If you don't know much about homes, you're not very good at DIY or not experienced at all, it probably makes more sense to get some sort of home inspection to make sure you're not getting yourself into a money dump. My wife and I, we bought our home. It's an old 1880s home. It's had plenty of issues. We spent plenty of money, but we knew that's what we were getting ourselves in for. So we decided to go for a slightly bigger home in a neighborhood we really loved that needed more work so that we could purchase it and then renovate it to meet our own standards over time. Because lots of the homes in Lancaster are older, especially in the downtown, some of the issues can be tremendously expensive to fix. So getting that home inspection could potentially save you tens of thousands of dollars. So what is the smartest strategy to compete against cash? Well, ultimately, getting a strong pre-approval from a local lender is going to be your first stop. Then having a conversation with the seller or the seller's agent to see what terms is going to be agreeable for them, being flexible around closing dates, being able to have some concessions on the number of inspections you want, but still keeping yourself protected. Adding things like a small appraisal gap and not asking for seller help when it comes to closing costs, these are all things that are going to help sweeten the deal. Ultimately, cash buyers are real, but they are not unbeatable. With the right structure and communication, finance buyers can often win the home of their dreams in Lancaster. Now that you feel confident you can get your financed offer accepted, click this video here and it's going to tell you the timeline on how long it takes to purchase a home.